There you
I
go.
sound good?
Yes, sir.
Sound
Y'all
great.
can hear me? I'm
One.
not hot.
There you
Well, it looks like we are live. And my name is Arthur Turnbull, and I am filling in this week for D'Angela Duff, who is on assignment. I am happily joined by, well, first of all, this is What Did Prince Do This Week, episode 170. I had a whole lead in my mind coming into this, and then once you hit the button and you see that red live screen, then it just all goes away. And is this thing on? So I've got Michael Dean with me. I have C. Lee McInnes with me. And we are here to discuss what Prince did the week of April 26th or 7th, all the way through May the 2nd. I don't have any music.
Beatbox. How about
There you go.
That'll work.
Housequake. Shut
That'll
up.
work. That'll be a good start.
If anything, one thing, you're a little hot. There,
Am I?
Arthur.
See, that's the thing. Hold on.
Turn it down just a little bit.
Yeah, that's what happened when you had that fancy equipment. You
Yeah.
got that good equipment with no E on it, just that good equipment.
You coming in a little Susan Rogers.
Right.
Dorothy, you're a little
Right.
if I was your girlfriend.
There you go.
Shit. How about now? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
good.
Yeah,
There
okay.
you go.
All right. Well, the timekeeper is here, so we do have our clock, and we are on the clock. And listen, this is a Prince show. I understand it's a Prince show, but have either of you seen the Michael Jackson film yet?
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm laughing because last week Brother Dean started off with the question and got blazed in the chat. So go
Oh,
ahead.
did I?
Answer the question.
Oh yeah, I seen it
Brother Dean.
twice.
Really? You saw it twice?
Saw it twice. Thinking about seeing the third time. How about
Okay,
Just-
so to make the connection right quick, I know that this was in the documentary, but is it also in the movie that Mike says if he don't work on his ideas, God will give him the Prince, or is that just in the documentary? That's in the
That's
movie
in the
too.
movie.
All right, that's how Prince connection. All right, go ahead, Brother Dean. Tell him about
Hilarious.
what you saw.
Well, I mean, just to keep it short, it's a celebration of Michael Jackson. I guess before the movie came out, and the critics, it was, hey, this is not the deep dive, doesn't go into allegations and this and that and the third, and then when you go see the movie and you see what it is. It is, again, it's a celebration of Michael Jackson. It's almost told if it's a hero's journey almost. You know what I'm saying? Like you're supposed to walk out of there going, yeah, and you do.
Right.
The music. I would say this: two things. One, Jafar Jackson, fantastic. You think it's Michael, and I think the other part is the music. Hearing that music that you love pumping through those speakers like that, and the spectacle, the visual.
Yeah.
Anyone who says, "Whoa, that's not amazing," it's like going to see a Marvel movie. It's just a fantastic action-packed sort of a thing. It is not Malcolm X. It's not JoJo Dance of Your Life is calling.
Right.
It is told from the point of view of, I would imagine if they were ever to do a Prince thing, whatever that would be, whether it's a biopic or not, it's going to be celebratory. It's not going to deal with some of the more darker things. And probably as fans, they don't want to see that no way. So, but yeah, I loved it, man. It was incredible.
So I got one quick question, and we'll get on into the book. I've been seeing a few people say some things, and sometimes I wonder, like, okay, what are people bringing to something? Are the people who are asking or saying something about the Joe Jackson portrayal in a surprising way? Is it different than what we got the movie? Because I'm seeing people. No, I'm not online, but I see a few people on YouTube act like this is the first time they've seen kind of Joe. So my question to you is Joe's portrayal in the movie that much different than how he was on the TV series that people will be surprised at that part of the presentation?
On the surface level, it's the same caricature of Joe Jackson we've always seen, in my opinion.
Okay.
sometimes he's a villain to some people.
Right.
Sometimes he may be sort of a, hey, that's what a father does to some people, you know. So you got to ask. It's depending on who has seen it. But listen, there was parts where Joe was on there. I was just like,
okay.
And there were parts when I saw myself a little bit.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, my wife and I, we saw it the day of, right? Friday? We saw it the day of, and we did go to an IMAX to see it. And I usually do not like music biopics. But this one I did want to see primarily because it was Jafar Jackson, so his nephew is in the role. And his nephew is absolutely not going to phone it in, and his nephew very likely would have access to, stories and actual materials. And my wife had told me that she had read that he had either read an interview where he had said that he had access to his uncle's diaries.
Yeah, he did.
And so that kind of insight, you really can't. Well, you can, but you really benefit from when it's a family member who is committed, And the other thing was,
and just a real quick, we've seen
directing.
that before with Ice Cube and his son.
Yeah. Straight out of Compton, and then Antoine Fuqua being the director. It's just you knew it was going to be an attempt at a great story, at a solid story. But being that it was a biopic, of course I got issues, but not to be disparaging about it. But the biggest issue was that it was difficult, and you can only do so much in a 2 hour and change movie. I really hope that there may be a director's cut of this later, maybe on a Blu-ray or 4K or something like that.
Right.
Because my oldest daughter called us the other night, and she and her husband went to see it. And my oldest daughter is 30, so her representation of, or her reference to Michael is, of course, through us, but also through just what's just out, and the Janet as a vehicle, and just that. One thing that the movie it spoke to it, but it really did not get into, was just how big the Jackson 5 were.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think they did a really good job. The little man that played young Michael was phenomenal. It was my favorite scene was when he's in the studio with Berry Gordy, and the boy he can't stop moving when he's singing because he just can't stop moving, And the conversation. I also like the scene between the conversation between Michael and his mother, Nia Long, is Katherine Jackson, where he talked about how all the kids just want to take his picture. They really don't want to know who I am, and that these animals, these are my friends. These are more than just these things,
Right.
Because it got into the loneliness of Michael, as he got older. But because they had to jump these periods, these great leaps of years, you just never got the fact that he, as an 11 and 12-year-old, he was so famous,
right,
that they just had absolutely no privacy, and he really just had no childhood. The Jackson 5 had a cartoon on Saturday morning.
Yep.
They had a variety show as teenagers before the Destiny album. They were big. Yeah. By the time we got into and the Wiz, when they never talked about the fact that he was in the Wiz, which was also a vehicle for Off the Wall. But again, I know it's a Prince show, but I brought it up because it's ignited a lot of Prince versus Michael in the Twitter sphere in particular.
Right.
And it just seems like every once in a while there's just these random flashpoints that happen, and it pits these two men together as if it's this battle royale that somebody's got to win.
Right.
And
I would say it pits the fans together. I don't think it doesn't pit them together. It pits the fans together.
Well, yeah, the fans of the two, the camps. Let's say that, right? Pits the two camps together. And people just
it only, and we got to remember, it only puts together a small, loud portion of each of these fan bases, because I don't think what you're seeing online speaks for the majority of the fans of either one of these brothers.
I'm glad you said
speaks
that.
to the ones that you happen to be following, and you're in the algorithm of either one of these two superstars, and you just happen to be seeing it. But I don't think when you go to the movie, you certainly are not seeing people in there talking about, oh, how come he didn't do the knee? You ain't seeing them talking about Prince and Michael. We love, you know what I'm saying? Let's not get it twisted. We love them.
That's interesting, right? I mean, you know, we have our preferences, but it's like just because Michael was just so present through, you know, really through our generation, Gen X, you know, throughout our childhood, it was just he was just kind of a constant. So, all right, but this is a Prince show.
Answer to Love Sexy real quick. I think yes, we actually have already recorded the extensive breakdown, so that'll be coming out this weekend for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, this. Okay, yeah, I'm on it. I'm getting on it. I'm getting on it. All right, this is. I agree with Tanji. The relationship between his brothers were just that was really downplayed. Because I'm saying they were all incredibly famous. Okay,
absolutely.
What did Prince do this week?
It's one of those things. It's one of those things that opens the door for you to go read a book.
That's what I'm saying too. Without saying it,
you know what I'm saying? Purple Rain doesn't. It gives you, you know, it's not a real biopic, but it opened the door for me to go find out about this brother. And to me, this movie is just a gateway for younger people to go, and they're gonna get your mind blown when you actually go do your research and you see all the things that he just mentioned. Like, oh, that's the context behind it.
Yeah.
So to me, to make this movie to want to be answering all the questions impossible. It's too much. It's Michael Jackson's the Jacksons, but it'll open the door for you to go. It's going to open the door for people to go listen to the albums that they never listened to before. That's the main thing. I don't care if you know about their family's back history and divorces and all. Go listen to the music. That's what got them there. So if it opens the door for you to go listen to Destiny or go listen to the Day One.
Yeah, I would say that. I think, and I know I harp on this a lot. I think we have to really be mindful and push against this notion, because Black historical figures and Black famous figures, we have this mentality that they should only have one book and one movie. And I've often said, if Lincoln can get 25 books and several movies, Frederick Douglass should have 25 books and several movies, right? If Theodore Roosevelt could have all these books and movies, Malcolm X. So I want people to stop. I think what happens a lot of times is people go to whatever movie is, but so they're going to the Michael Jackson movie because they have this understanding that there's going to be limited coverage, right? And I think that what we have to tell people that it's okay for this movie to cover what it's going to cover. Because we should expect other movies and other books to cover other things. Like I'm from Clarksville, Mississippi. I was right next to Tupelo, Mississippi, right next to Memphis, Tennessee. I was inundated with all Elvis Presley kind of stuff, right? Books, movies, this, that, other.
Yeah.
Right. I think that we have to begin both expecting and demanding that Black historical figures and Black noted people get as many books. And stop looking for the one there's no one definitive book on the Beatles. There's no one definitive documentary on the Beatles. Therefore, we don't want one definitive book on Prince or one definitive. What we want is a plethora of things so that we can get all these different things. This will be a bad analogy, and I'll stop on this, that the reason there are 4 books called the Gospels, because they give you 4 different perceptions of this one dude. Like, so for instance, I'll give you an example. The book of Matthew, a lot of people don't know, was written to a Jewish audience. So because the book of Matthew was written to a Jewish audience, it's not going to have the same presentation that Mark, Luke, and John will have. I'm saying Mark, although Mark was actually the life of Peter, but don't even worry about that. That's a whole nother discussion. That's my point, is that I like that, Brother Lee. We need a kaleidoscope of research so that we that's the only way you're gonna get the human nature. So let's stop saying this is the one best movie and do all that. I'll shut up. Let's get on to the book. Sorry, Kim.
Okay, now we can get started. Really, I was subversively trying to activate Seeley
Hilarious.
to get this going. Yes, it is. And this is also week 18 in 1986. Well, what did Prince do this week? What did I say? Episode 170? This is a very slow read of Duane Tudahl's Prince Studio Sessions book series through an interactive and weekly online book club and Saturday Salon, echoing the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance. We read every week from Sunday to Saturday of 1986, not necessarily date to date. This week is going to cover Sunday, April the 27th through Saturday, May 3rd of 1986. And you do not need the paperback to participate, like myself, who has the big hardcover, but it's not up to date. Anyway, still bitter, but that has the most up-to-date information. And What Did Prince Do This Week will be archived on both the YouTube channels Polished Solid and Michael Dean. All right. Oh, yeah, I got to read this one. What Did Prince Do This Week is not endorsed by the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson. They're not affiliated, associated, or connected, which is a mistake, but is not also endorsed or sponsored the book series. Further, the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson has not licensed any of its intellectual property to the producers, advertisers, or directors of What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. I really do think that's a mistake. Okay. We choose to be a community even when we disagree. For my example, we're at week 18, which I said 6 times.
Did you disappear from us?
I might have. My camera wants to act a little funny. I'm sharing this off of one computer, and that's not exactly recommended. Dev told me, but gotta follow my own path. All right, so he did 3 studio sessions this week. Where are we in the calendar? Oh, okay. So we're gonna talk about. Sorry, here we are. Bottom left corner. The Mountains 12-inch. He did multiple cues for Under the Cherry Moon, and he worked the Alexa de Paris 12-inch, as well as some more multiple cues for the upcoming film, and he did some various jams and a cover of James Brown's Get On Up. All right, so let's talk about Sunday, April the 27th. Sorry about that. Who wants to read?
I'll read. That's Sunday, April 27th. Okay, there we go. I got ahead of myself. Good thing. And I got, as y'all see, I got my CNI. Thanks, Brother Tudahl.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Sunday, April 27th, 1986, Mountain 12-inch version mix. Hey, you! Get on! Okay. Multiple cues for Under the Cherry Moon score, tracking mix, Sunset Sound Studio 3, 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. Books noon through open. Producer Prince, artist Prince, although Sheely is listed. Engineer Coke Johnson. And our reading tells us that another mix of the extended version of Mountains was mixed, and multiple cues were done for the movie, likely including Christopher Submerges, copyright as Chris Submerges, bathtub scene, the strings from An Honest Man, Bella Lugosi, listed as Bella Lugosi. Kathy confronts Christopher and Tricky about the rent. Pay me the money you owe me. And the title track on piano, which was used as the intro to the movie. The name Bella Lugosi was likely influenced by the song titles such as Sly and the Family Stones, Thank You for Letting Me Be My Elf Again. 3 C60 tapes were made of these tracks. I will only add to this that we, again, it's probably too late. We don't know what they're going to do in the parade, but it's clear that there's somewhere between a 2 hour and 35, 2 hour and 45 whole cut of Under the Cherry Moon. And that actually doesn't include what Brother Tudahl talks about were the after shoots. So if you include the after shoots, there's a 3 hour director's cut of Under the Cherry Moon. And so I'm just putting it out there. This is not necessarily a Dear State moment.
The Christopher cut. Right.
Yeah. Put the 3-hour Christopher cut out, because I will say this. There are things that are cut in that 2 hours and 30-minute cut that it's unconscionable that they are cut. So if we're talking about this, like there are things that answer like questions that people have. If you see that whole 2 hour and 30 something minute cut, you may not like the movie, but you won't have any questions about the movie, if that makes sense. And I'll say,
Well, I would love to see that. If nothing else, I can't wait for the deluxe edition where they put the stuff that we just talked about on there. I'm like, that's going to be amazing to hear. Like, that's just like a no brainer. Like the musical cues to the movie, man, load them up. We need that. I hope they have uncovered that. And if Duane can talk about it in the book, I'm sure they must have access to this type of stuff, because I just can't wait. I mean, this would be a gold mine to hear the musical cues that we hear in the movie, the little different pieces. So yeah, boggles my mind.
I at the I Wonder U40 symposium in New York City, in Brooklyn, not New York City, but in Brooklyn. I was part of a panel along with Celie that did live commentary while Under the Cherry Moon was played. And
that was fun.
That was fun. I had actually not seen the film for a long while. More things that I had forgotten than even remembered in it. But the thing I did remember were those musical cues, though. Remember that the drops that he would add in, specifically for scenes that I still hope, get released, are really worth listening to. Hopefully in like fuller form, because you kind of do a drop longer than what you would necessarily need, so that you can just edit down as as necessary. I think that I have a better view of the film now, and I realize that after being an adult, having a series of life experiences, and being able to see the film and also the commentary, because it wasn't just Celie and myself. We had some other folks there too, and some of their comments, helped me to kind of.
We had a couple of real filmmakers up there, Brother D. So I was really glad that people talk about that. Go ahead, Brother Turnbull.
Yeah, but it just gave me a different perspective on what Prince was trying to do, and D'Angela has a great argument. Let's say it's more an argument, but she has a great viewpoint that Under the Cherry Moon is Prince as his authentic self. And so while I thought that it was just an over-the-top portrayal of a character, as a 15-year-old or as a 20-year-old, whenever the last time I saw the film, now being much older, it's like, okay, I can actually put these things into perspective and actually can see how it's his real personality coming through. And maybe that's a little bit exaggerated for dramatic effect, comedic effect, but still him.
Right.
So I was able to appreciate that a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I know that in my presentation, I talked about drawing a line from Jamie Starr, Christopher Tracy. And if, I used for my example was the remix of Let's Work. And if you take the really kind of crude language of the remix of Let's Work, particularly the line, my stick and bubble gum is all they get. And you walk that through. The same person who says my stick and bubble gum is all you get is the same dude who says, hey, yo, Isaac, talking to come down with me, cousin, and make sure you put a pillow. Just like it. I mean, so for me, it was carrying Jamie Starr into the theater. And I guess because I was kind of more aware of Jamie Starr by the time we get to the kid, that for me, Prince was more than just that kind of, smoldering, kind of brooding kind of character in the kid. I'd had enough information on who he was going into Purple Rain that I wasn't as surprised. But to Brother Turnbull's point, to Loppy's point, there are a lot of people who got on the ride at Purple Rain.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and I have to remind myself that there were people who had never heard Let's Work. Like there are people who had never heard those kinds of things. And so I do think it's good for us to kind of like review now and to be able to make those points. Because I think that even now in 2026, there are a lot of people who will go to Under the Cherry Moon not knowing that Christopher character is a part of Prince's what I call pie chart, right? And Prince had these pie chart. We had all these multiple slices. So I'm glad that you brought that up simply because I think it allows us to get even more into Prince's versatility as an artist and Prince's versatility as a human being. That's it. I'll shut up.
Yeah, and there's somebody out there, there's people out there who saw Under the Cherry Moon as a kid or whatever it was, and they loved it, and they never saw nothing else really about Prince after that. You know what I'm saying? And it's because if you think back, how many movies have you saw as a kid? It was just a movie to you. You enjoyed it when you saw it. You used to watch it back in the day, and you don't really watch it no more. But you don't think it's not changing your life or nothing. But it's like, man, that was a funny movie I used to watch. It's still a movie.
Right.
So there's still people that are divorced or just not into. I didn't buy all the albums and all that. I knew him for Purple Rain, and Kiss was a big song, and it was the hit. And we went and saw that movie, and we laughed. We thought it was great, and we didn't think nothing else after it. And so to me, that movie, I say all that to say is the movie. There is a place for that movie to have its analysis as we have done, but I think there's a space for the estate or whoever, or Warner Brothers for that matter, to let it have its greatness. There are movies that it's great now because I'm at an older age and I'm really starting to revisit a lot of the films that I've seen as a kid, and they're taken serious now. Wild Style, I could grab it, but it just came out with a whole box set. This was an early hip hop movie, very low budget, but in 2026, somebody decided, let's give it the treatment. Put the soundtrack in there, put extensive interviews and commentaries with different cultural people, talk to the actors, put this whole put this 16 millimeter movie or whatever it shot on and put it on 4K and put it out. So Under the Cherry Moon, we need to have that, but we need to continue to keep doing what we're doing and having these analysis, having filmmakers look at it, having doctors look at it, having musicians look at it. It warrants all of that attention. And just because it's not given that from the official sources doesn't mean that this movie is not a cult classic to us. Just because it didn't perform in the box office back then doesn't mean it's not great. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't love it and treat it just like we would treat the greats. If it's great to us, then it's great. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to tell ourselves, we don't have to treat it as something, this is just some insider thing. No, this was a dope movie we saw as back in the day and we still love it. So I don't know. It's a shame that it doesn't get the proper respects from, I guess, the Prince organization, whatever, but we're not gonna let that stop us treating this thing like it's a great movie. It is. And that's why this music, what we're talking about, it needs to be put out in the same way. We would hear the Purple Rain cues, music cues was a bootleg at one time, and I love listening to that. And that's not even, I don't think that's even Prince at all playing that stuff, but it's associated with the movie and it reminds me of the movie. I love listening to it. So the same way I would love to listen to Prince's musical cue. Are you kidding? Like, how is that not released? So that's all my take on it.
And I just want to say to Kim's, and I think you're right on point. I think both of y'all are right on point. Thank you. I also want to say to Kim's point, Kim, I agree, not a guilty pleasure, but I'm also like, it's okay for it to be a guilty pleasure as well. I think coming to Brother D's point is that it's okay. I think sometimes we forget that it's okay just to enjoy art. It's okay just to have fun. Like, I think a lot of times, like even myself, of course, I take my work with Prince seriously and I take my work with art seriously. But there are also things that I just like. Like there are things that's just fun. And I think that more than anything else, yes, when I'm watching Under the Cherry Moon, I do look at all the other things I'm thinking serious. But at some point in that movie, it just starts being really fun. Like it just starts being. I enjoy Christopher and Tracy. I mean, Christopher and Tricky. Like I just like they remind me of me and my homeboy Rick, or they remind me of me and my two cousins, right? So I think it's okay that we can just say I like it because it's fun. I like it because I enjoy it, and not always because I think a lot of times we have to feel like we defend. Look, let me say this now. I promise I set up. There are a lot of songs on my phone. I ain't about to defend. Like there's some songs on my phone that I was like, ooh, this does not bode well for me as a human being. Excuse me, for whatever reason, I just like it. All right, I'll say.
No, I need to hear. Give me one.
Go ahead. Oh,
like who's your guilty pleasure artist? I just gotta know. Man. I'll tell you mine.
Go because I want to be there. I want to get somebody that's really guilty that you'll look at me like, ooh, really? So go ahead while I just kind of scroll through.
My guilty pleasure is 2 Chainz. I'm like the giant 2 Chainz fan.
See, I wouldn't.
And that is so far from my aesthetic.
And I say you don't need to be guilty about it. Like 2 Chainz. I don't understand. Guilty for why? But I get what you're saying. You know, I definitely get it. But yeah, I don't even put movies as guilty pleasures anymore. I like that shit. You know, I don't concern myself if anybody else don't like it. I'm the one watching it. Why would I care about, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it didn't do good. Well, I liked it. I don't buy movies based on other people's opinion. I buy based off of mine. So to me, Cherry Moon is the same as I put it in the same boat as Friday or Piece of the Action. These are movies that are my top 10s. Because I like that kind. That's us on screen doing what we would do. To me, Cherry Moon is just a victim of people's expectations because of what came before. It's the victim of people's expectations of what they thought Prince was, and he just gave a vision of we didn't know what the. I wanted you to be this, but when you just take all that away, to me, when you watch it, I think it's a great, funny ass black people movie. Like I don't.
Yeah. You know, and I wish I had. So before the symposium, I was trying to find some kind of documentation from 1986 or 87 where. So let me say this, but it's not based in fact. It's just based on sort of like the scenario of things, right? But I remember that Spike Lee was making a commentary on, because Spike Lee's first film, She's Gotta Have It, first studio distributed film, was released in 1986. And that film and that director really ushered in a whole new class of black filmmakers. Keenan Ivory Wayans, Robert Townsend, and Hollywood Shuffle the next year, all the way up to Ryan Coogler, really, John Singleton in the middle. But I'm saying there was just a conversation that Spike was a part of that was along the lines of there can only be one, right? And that Prince, being Prince, and because of Purple Rain, was able to get another film greenlit and be the director of it ultimately, replacing the original director Mary Lambert. And because it had not performed well, it was derided critically. It diminished the class of the black director as these new films were coming out. She's Gotta Have It, Hollywood Shuffles, You're Gonna Get Me Sucker, right? And man, I wish that I was able to find some kind of documentation, because otherwise it's just a guy saying it on a podcast, right? But like I remember it, like it really did happen, and I had never thought about it. I remember learning about it either later in high school or going into early college, but thinking that here the overall thing was, here's this big opportunity that only Prince would have gotten, but Prince didn't hire a black director.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's not me quoting Spike Lee so much as that's the kind of the context of what this conversation,
Right.
was about, that he was a part of.
Right. Right. No, I agree, and I think that so I agree 100%, and I think that now it's good that we're kind of going back and putting these things and reminding people that there's a chronology here, and that regardless of what you may like or dislike, you have to follow and you can't deny the chronology. I will say that for that guilty pleasure, not necessarily. Well, I'll put it to you this way. One of the reasons, as y'all know, I'm not a big sampling guy, but for years I was never offended or about like the lyrics of hip hop because I grew up as a blues kid in Mississippi Delta. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more raunchy than blues. Like there's nothing more nasty and raunchy than blues. I will say there's one song that I have on my phone that even as a 56-year-old man, when I listen to it, I go like, this is the name of the song, and just by the name of the song, y'all will know. It's by a dude named Chick Willis, and it's called "Stoop Down, Baby, Let Your Daddy See." That's all there. That's the title of it. And if you can imagine what the lyrics,
you're literally talking about Too Short.
Yeah, Too Short. Look, Too Short could not shock me. By the time that would be like, ooh, Too Short. I mean, clearly you never heard Chick Willis "Stoop Down, Baby." So, but again, when people ask me why do I like it, you know why I like this song for two reasons. It's the blues and it's funny. Like as body and as nasty and as raunchy as it is, I laughed the whole 4 or 5. And here's the funny part about it. That song got an extended version. Like back in the day, they came out with a blues song, and then Chick said, y'all know what? I got 2 more minutes of the stoop down that I can give you. So there's a 4-minute version and a 6-minute version. Check out the stoop down at a YouTube near you. But back to the real point of this is that, yeah, I like the fact that you guys are talking the chronology of where this movie falls and talking about we need to do a better job of discussing it. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to Alexa de Paris, one last thing, and it's a what if. What if Under the Cherry Moon was a blockbuster? What if it was a box office success? It was, damn near nominated for an Oscar. Do you think that would have risen the boats of other young black directed films? Side note, all the films that I've mentioned, Under the Cherry Moon, She's Gotta Have It, Hollywood Shuffle, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, they were all called comedies. She's Gotta Have It is nothing close to a comedy. Right. But it was also a class of film that black directors could get a lane that black directors could live in because studios didn't think that black drama wasn't financially beneficial, right? But what if Under the Cherry Moon was rock solid, blew the doors off Purple Rain? Would that have risen the tides for all those boats?
I think it would have had the same effect Purple Rain had, because Purple Rain was such a big success. Warner Brothers is, we can do Crush Groove.
Right.
Just make sure you put some Prince connection. That's all we're going to green like this. But this hip hop rap thing, there's already been a couple of movies that have been pretty big on that genre, breaking and things. So we can do this. I don't think I think it would have the same effect. It would have maybe opened, somebody would have got another chance to do something. I think Cherry Moon, She's Gotta Have It, Purple Rain, you can narrow it into the black director box too, but I think they more speak to blacks on film being pushed, and I think it speaks more to it opens the door for I'm using their terms. It would open the door for a more urban presentation on screen. Purple Rain is still a hood movie. It is still showing a subculture of black culture that most people had not seen before. The whole Prince thing was a subculture in the black culture, kind of like an early hip hop thing. They had their own dress, their own music. There was the king of that culture was Prince, and he had his
Mhm.
So yeah, put that on screen. It's going to fascinate everyone around the world because they ain't never seen that type of shit before. That's
Mhm.
why it got me. The
Mhm.
same
Mhm.
way with some of these early rap movies. It didn't matter if they were like cinematography great. It was showing a subculture that I had never seen before, and they were both highly connected to music,
Mhm.
which was a new. Their genres of music were new, so I think it would have maybe still opened the door for more of that. Would they have been good movies? It could be questionable. A person like a Spike Lee is obviously a auteur, if I'm saying it right. He definitely an artist that has a very particular cinematic vision. He studied that, which would be the difference between Purple Rain, Under the Cherry Moon. What about a black genius in film? Let him have control. What would
Mhm.
he do? But he had to do it on his own means. So I think he was still would have had to fight to get a very super authentic cultural moment from New York from this dude coming out of New York. But Prince was a star at that point. He had big money backing him. So I think that's why we sort of separate his movies from the rest of the culture. But I think when we look back on it now, no, that was a black movie. It just was big budget, or at least it was put out through the machine, but it was still made in the streets. It still had to fight to get it. Did he have some white backers, you know, Italian Jewish money behind the scenes making it pop off?
Mhm.
You had to be to do it on that level. Uh, and that's even with him having successful records, it still wasn't considered, we're not going to just blank check your ass. But after that, they blank checked him. So I think if Under the Cherry Moon would have worked, he would have probably got another blank check to some degree. Uh, but instead, he went to the Spike route because it flopped, right? And he had to fund his own shit, sign the
Mhm.
times. So,
Mhm.
so that's
Yeah. Highlight Kim's point. I think Kim's making a really good point about there's black stories versus black directors. All right. So I think Kim's point would be the point I want to make, but I want to say that Brother Dean made me think about something. Um, After Purple Rain, there were a lot more people, quote, dressing like Prince than before Purple Rain. Right.
Mhm.
Like I knew guys who were like, because we was into that. But so to that point, I was because I was gonna say I don't know if it made a big difference. I think that to Kim's point, if Under the Cherry Moon for whatever reason finds an audience, right? I think what it would have done was, and I think you were speaking to this point too, Brother Dean, it would have widened how we would have defined the black film, or it would have widened, right, what that genre. I think that would have been, because I think on the one hand there was already this growing gap between what hip hop culture was becoming and what it meant to be a Prince fan. So
mhm.
and unfortunately in that day and time the two couldn't kind of coexist. I think that if to your point, right, Crush Groove kind of gets funded because you get Sheila E in there. They're trying to ride that Purple Rain. They're trying to do two things, kind of like what Brother Turnbull was saying. They're trying to do two things at once. They're trying to create this space for the urban hip hop scene
Mhm.
while ride the Purple Rain. Because there were a lot of people who were like, "Why is Sheila E in this
Mhm.
movie?" And then the reverse, I only saw it because Sheila E was in the movie.
Right.
I think that if Under the Cherry Moon found an audience, I think what it would have done was widen what we think of as a black film, and then maybe given more opportunities to people not to make what was quote unquote a hip hop or urban film as defined as that time. That's it. I'll
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah. And you spoke on it. I think it was great. That's the thing. The cultural shift between Purple Rain and Crush Groove was so
Right.
significant. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
by what I mean by that is what Prince represented, and where that was coming from visually
Yeah.
versus where it was a quick shift where the
Yep.
culture was, we want to be a little more masculine and it's
Right.
Yeah.
coming from the
Yeah. Yeah.
streets
Mhm.
versus, you still kind of representing the little Richard kind of
Right.
type of
Exactly.
look and boom, right at the gate, we're
Yep.
getting the culture shifting, getting ready to shift into the whole Black Power conscious type of movement. It wasn't shifting to no gang thing. It was just shifting to,
Right.
hey, we don't dress like that. Run DMC dressed like they was from the street. That was such a
Right.
big thing to see black men not dressed in these big costumes.
Mm-hmm.
That allowed everyone to feel like, hey, I'm a part of that. I can do that. I can't dress like, Under the Cherry
Mhm.
Moon. Prince is flexing, happy, he's rich, and he's on some other shit. You're not going to be able to copy, you couldn't copy that. You can't copy what he got going at that point. So even though the music is dope as hell, it kind of starts to seem like it's starting to go another way. And here's something that, man, this is coming from the street. Like, oh yeah, that's us. And so I think that cultural shift was so swift. Even Prince was sort of, he doesn't get it either to a degree. Like,
Right.
So I think that's the other part of what kind of affected what was going on with this movie and stuff too.
Right.
All right. Let's get to the heart of this, Alexa de Paris.
And we've been instructed to read the May intro. So whoever's going to do.
Oh, what's going on?
Yeah, read the May intro.
I can read that. All right.
Okie dokie.
Prince was going through a period of renewal and change. His latest album, Parade, was recently released to good reviews, and the first single, Kiss, was #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. At #2 was the Bangles' Manic Monday, which was also written by Prince, so his professional life was going well. The second single, Mountains, was about to be released, and the world was waiting for the follow-up to Purple Rain, Under the Cherry Moon. Not one to ever rest on his laurels, Prince had already begun creating his next project. The previous weeks had him holed up in Minneapolis, where he was recording a great deal and changing his relationship with Susanna Melville. She had recently moved out of his house in Minneapolis, and he decided to fly to Los Angeles and bury himself in his recording. Like Prince had done with Maserati the previous year, he was dividing his time overseeing 2 sessions conducted in 2 different studios. But unlike the early sessions in April of 1985, which were both taking place at Sunset Sound, Prince was spending more time working on his own music at Sunset Sound, while Sheila was less than a mile away at Capitol Studios. All right, keep going.
Yeah. Y'all, anybody need to break that down before we go on?
Well, I mean, one thing, he's got Parade is out now, #1 on the charts, #2 on the charts. I mean, that's a great position to sit in. It's like, yeah, I'm dominating with my song and another song I wrote from a whole group that's some was a different genre, a different sort of, the Bangles, a pop.
And it doesn't have that quote unquote, purple Minneapolis sound to it.
Yeah. That's
so
that would be amazing, actually. Yeah.
So my question in real time was, and I really was geeked. Was anybody geeked the fact that Prince was like #1 and #2? Like for me, that was like a big feather in my fandom cap to walk around and say that, hey, my favorite artist is, and I wasn't really a chart kind of person, but I will admit that hit kind of different when Prince was #1 and #2.
I'll admit I was not even really aware of it back then.
Okay.
I was probably too young. I just didn't follow it.
I was a little aware, maybe not of the exact chart position, but I was very aware that Manic Monday was on this radio station, but Kiss was on that radio station, and they didn't really cross over too much. Kiss more so than Manic Monday in terms of multiple formats. And I do remember that right away I did not recognize Manic Monday as a Prince song, but I liked it. And then when it was like, this is produced by Prince, I was like, oh yeah, you kind of get like, oh well, of course it was, yeah, man, this was like a really, well, I'm starting to get into what I have feelings over about Alexa de Paris, so I'll hold off to that. But yeah, it was a thing.
We go ahead then, unless Brother Dean want to add something.
No, just what he said. I had heard he produced it, but when I listened to it, I didn't. It wasn't, again, it wasn't the Prince I wanted to hear at that particular time, because I'm really falling heavy into his work, but I'm going back listening to, Controversy and the Time and stuff, and I'm just like, whoo, that's the.
You know what?
Crazy.
It was because you said you just sparked something, Michael. It was almost like like, yeah, Prince doesn't just sound like this. We've been trying to tell you how broad this guy is, but he wrote the song that you're nodding your head to, even though you want to tease him for wearing ruffled shirts and walking around barefoot in flowers. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was a certain backup feeling that you had. I remember.
All right.
All right.
Keep going.
Yeah, please.
Alexa DeParis, 12-inch version mix. Multiple cues for Under the Cherry Moon. Score. Sunset Sound, Studio 3 likely. Booked noon open. Producer Prince. Artist Prince. Engineer Coke Johnson assumed. Quote from Brown Mark. Venus de Milo will take you there. It's one of those songs where you're in your car driving through the country. Turn that up and have a nice night tune to add to your playlist. Interesting, the word playlist makes me wonder when.
Right.
As usual, Prince increased the potential value of a single release by including a non-LP B-side, Alexa DeParis. An instrumental that was not included on Parade was giving a second life as the flip side of Mountains. A piano-only version can be heard twice in Under the Cherry Moon during the scene in which Tricky dances with Mary Sharon. Mary and Tricky dance, as well as in a scene where Prince plays piano, Christopher, and Couples. A few other cues were tracked during this session. Man.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna the first time at least I remember hearing this song or paying attention to it, I swear would have been the scene that they show the scene in the premiere show on MTV. Didn't they show the scene with him and Mary
dancing on the gazebo or outside on the deck where they're?
I think they showed that on there, if I'm not mistaken.
You talking about the contest and he played in the Holiday Inn? You talking about that whole
in the
MTV?
They showed scenes from the movie during that.
Yeah, they did show scenes from the movie.
Yeah.
Did they show that scene in there?
I don't remember.
Maybe I'm thinking of the one where he's like nice. He catches the little thing. None of that. Hearing that scene, hearing that music in that scene, I always remember that. Like that's I cannot disassociate it with it because I got the 12-inch after I guess I've seen the movie or whatever. But that's just always one of those magical headbuster Prince songs or music that I always will remember. That blew me away when I first heard this. I just couldn't imagine. I was like, God damn, he wrote this. And what my ears knew at that time, it was just, it was incredible to me. And it's still incredible, but it was just, I couldn't believe the complexity, just the harmonics of it, the cinematicness of it. It's fantastic. It's one of these songs that I can't wait for whatever we're going to get Parade, because I just want to hear that in its full-on remastered quality and to be blown away. That's all I can say.
Yeah, to your point, the combination of Around the World and then Parade, Prince was starting to sound like my father's entire record collection by himself. And I think that by the time we get to Parade, Prince is probably the reason why I get bored with a lot of different artists. And so let me say it this way. And it's hard to say what I'm about to say without it sounding like a diss. And I want people to understand I'm making a strictly technical sound statement, not a judgment on these artists' skill set or talent. Does that make sense? So what would always bother me is whenever, by the time you get to say, let's say, would it be fair to say by the time we get to 87, 88, you would start hearing this the next Prince? Like would 87, 88 be about the time you start getting this gonna be the next Prince, or maybe even in 1990? And what always bothered me by the time you get to that date is that artist who would be very talented, to my ears would also be very one-dimensional. And that's where I think Prince sounding like my father's full, like if I put on a Prince record I could have what I would deem a musical history lesson, that I was gonna hear so many different sounds on a Prince record, that when I put on whoever you whatever name you want to put in. So I'm not gonna call any names because I know it'll offend somebody in the chat, because I know they love that person. So, but whoever was the placeholder at any year for this gonna be the next Prince, I always thought they were doing that person a disservice for me, because that person couldn't just do the diversity of sound or the breadth of sound that Prince could give me on an Around the World and Their Parade, and then later A Sign of the Times, and then later Love Sexy. So to your guys' point, Alexa to Paris for me was kind of that moment in which like I could listen to my father's whole record collection, or I could just put on a Prince album and have the same experience. I'll shut up.
Man, both of those are great. And Mike said something that really speaks to my whole view of it, where he said my ears weren't ready to listen.
Right.
He said something to that effect, right? That Alexa to Paris is like, now I can kind of begin to listen to music like this, because the artist that my person is doing music like this is just providing a gateway into these other things. And it happened like that for me as well. Just, I mean, with Seeley talking about, Prince was doing his whole father's music collection, it's like Alexa to Paris allowed me to start to begin to listen to other albums in my parents' music collection that I didn't think I was necessarily ready for. But because Prince was doing this, I don't know, it's not even like giving you permission, but it's almost like a primer.
Yeah.
For beginning to listen to new sounds.
Yeah.
I think the song Yes on the Family album was probably the first instrumental, I'm gonna cheapen it by calling it a groove, but just his first, instrumental, groove jam thing that Prince was doing. But Alexa to Paris really elevated that, because now it's a Prince record. Even though Yes is technically a Prince record, but I'm saying now it's on a Prince album in some kind of way.
Exactly.
Right? Now it's a whole nother thing. And before we get into it's, him and Sheila E., I said this on, I promise you I'm gonna stay on track. I said this at the symposium, but I missed out a kind of a key part of the point that I was trying to make. But that the Parade album sat between these two giant peaks. His most commercially successful album, Purple Rain, and his most critically acclaimed album, Sign of the Times. And of course, chronologically, there's Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, and then Parade. But Around the World and Parade, they're the same era. Around the World in a Day is very much the era of Purple Rain. And here is Prince doing music, the first time doing recorded music with the intent to release after the Purple Rain zeitgeist and not before, which is what he did with Around the World in a Day, So he really began to expend this credit, this A1 credit that he had accumulated with the success of that movie and that tour and that album, to begin to craft what was next for his sound, but also what was next for the Revolution. And even though there are 3 albums with the Revolution on it, this is really the only one for me that constitutes a Revolution album. I think the fact that he was able to do music that was so very different than the music that he was doing before, an album that was kind of the epicenter of this flood of material going into 1987 that all the diehards love, and that all the bootlegs that we've amassed over the years. Parade is like the beginning of this. And I think Alexa to Paris is that fork in the road where we've got this Prince, the vocalist, the band leader, but we also have Prince, this musician, leading to the vein of the Madhouse records and the instrumental records that he did later on. Interesting thing about Alexa de Paris, it's the only song in that sort of like parade era with a rock lead guitar solo. Technically, there's a guitar solo on Kiss when there is, but otherwise there's no lead guitar anywhere on Parade. It's only here on Alexa de Paris. I thought that was vastly interesting, and I couldn't necessarily blame someone, a casual Prince fan. Well, definitely, someone who's not necessarily familiar with Prince, only recognizing Kiss but not recognizing Parade, as an album, because they didn't hear about it being the zeitgeist of Purple Rain, or how, everyone agrees that Sign of the Times is like, the Prince masterpiece of all Prince masterpieces. I think it's just like a really, really important song, particularly as he's become like a full-on frontman in this period.
Right. Go ahead, brother Dean.
Just a quick thought. It was this in the quantum realm. In the quantum realm, Alexa de Paris, and listen to me here. In the quantum realm, this song is a time record. And I'm saying that if you just go back to what the fuck? Go back to what's the song, the jam of Morris and Prince? It's on the
Tricky. Chlorine Bacon Skin.
Chlorine Bacon Skin.
Yeah.
Now, Chlorine Bacon Skin sounds to be about the rawest in terms of, I didn't go back and add a whole bunch of shit to it. He on drums, I'm playing the bass, and we're just gonna ride and go where the flow of this music is going, and we're dope ass funky musicians, but obviously they both are influenced by rock stuff and different things. You can hear that in the time, he doing that rock, 2-minute rock guitar solos, unheard of in funk like that, except for some funkadelic stuff. But for a guy like that to be doing it, that was like, whoa. You can hear the musicianship in it then. You can hear that it's a little bit above your standard funk band. The choices that they choose to do in these records are not always the same as everyone. Like, wow, why would you play a crazy solo like that? To me, Alexa de Paris is just, if you took that same guy and you gave him however many years to get better, he just kept getting better and better. This is what it's going to sound like. He's able to expand. He's got around different musicians, and they have their level of influence and what he's got going on. And then, of course, he's hooking up with Claire Fisher, who he's doing that because he knows all the R&B and black music people who have worked with them back in the day. So hell yeah, I can do that, and I got the budget to have Claire Fisher on my shit. I'm gonna do it my way. So he's still to me, it's just it is what a dope ass black musician like Prince would sound like after all these years. It's the same. It's doing the same stuff. It's just sonically incredible. He's obviously leaning more into the shit he was kind of hinting at before, and he's got a wider gamut to really just stretch it out. And he does not the same way when he's doing Chlorine. He's not thinking about necessarily putting that out like that. We just in here jamming. This is what I do. I can see the same way with this. He's probably like, yo, this ain't going on the record, but this is what I've always done.
Yeah, okay.
I'm doing my ish. And it happened that it came out and we got to hear it. Because if I would have heard Chlorine and you would have said it was Prince, I would have been like, what the fuck? I would have been like, this is crazy. I just thought he was doing his, but yo, he's expanding and going deep and riding the groove and all that. So to me, it's the same type of thing. It's just obviously packaged incredibly well. It's exceptional. Again, you listen to what you knew before, and then you hear this, and you can't believe, like, how did he get this good? In a direction I didn't think he could do. But I think when you really look at it, he was always going in those directions. He just didn't share it with us all the time. We only heard the very packaged, edited version of these songs, but he always had that in him. It was a great way for them to, yeah, they're gonna trip out on this. It's almost like I don't even want to put this on the record because it would be, I don't, yeah, maybe in his mind, I don't think they would be able to handle this in the context of a Prince record. But obviously, I'm way more advanced than these guys could possibly imagine. So I'm just gonna put this shit on the 12-inch.
Right.
What interest? Why? I wonder why we didn't get more shit like this on the records, because I don't know if he thought that we would be able to take to it. Why wasn't it just all piano? Like, obviously, what he's doing in the movies, there's an intention for him to be playing his music like that, but why wasn't it all? He still had to put Kiss on the record. They still had to make the beats a certain way because that's what you expected. Even though I'm still stretching it out, I didn't go too crazy with it. To me, Alexis de Paris, boy, just imagine if he'd have just said, I don't give a damn if this shit throws that off. I really don't give a damn if it's, I don't hear records on it. I want to do all of that because I think this is just what he was. It's just the way it was presented to us. It just seems so crazy because we only got glimpses of the shit. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I mean, maybe it's because you can't feed a baby steak, right? Maybe it's because our ears, like Prince was like super intentional, right? So I mean, Alexa de Paris put it on the B-side of mountains, put it on the B-side of anything, would have been a way for him to help us begin to listen to other things.
Right.
Because I know I started listening to other things.
Yes.
I mean, when the Madhouse album came out, like when that happened, I was off and running. I mean, that was like our Weather Report. Madhouse was our return to forever. I don't think I would have been listening to those albums certainly then, even to try them out.
Somebody just said God instrumental is another example, right? That's to me the same. Like, yeah,
right. I want to go back to, I think, Love Sexy's. She put 11:56. I was trying to avoid it, but love at the 11:56 a.m. When he asked, was I referring to Giorgio or 10th String Derby with our Alexa de Paris discussion? Right. And I leave it there because I'm going to say something surprising at the end of this. So if I take Alexa de Paris, right, and then having that same discussion, I'm going to name 9 artists, right, who I feel like got kind of trapped. And I want to be clear, got trapped into that Prince comparison, but still had good careers, if that makes sense. That they were, I'm talking about the industry, that the industry was saying, this is going to be kind of your next Prince, this is going to be your kind of Prince vein. D'Angelo, Miguel, Maxwell, Tony, Ready for the World, Giorgio, Terrence Trent D'Arby, and a person that I know I'm the only person on this screen who knows of or has his music, a brother named Don Newkirk. All right. So I'm going to give those names again because I want to say something. So D'Angelo, Miguel, Maxwell, Tony, Ready for the World, Giorgio, Terrence Trent D'Arby, Don Newkirk. And so they all, I think, were put up as this is going to be your next Prince. And the problem for people like me who came to them was like, well, they're not diverse enough. Luckily for me, however, I was able to find something in each of them that I could like. Though I know that they would never give me an Alexa de Paris. What will probably be interesting to most people, of all those groups, the person whose album, thank you, was not Kim, the person whose album I still play the most to this day is Don Newkirk's album. Don Newkirk's album, Funk City, I thought was going to be hip hop's answer to Prince. So if you've never heard Don Newkirk's album, Funk City, you can find all of the singles there.
Is Newkirk, was he with those rappers?
He was with,
connected with the Gas Face and all that?
Yeah, Third Base, them.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
What's the guy? I can't remember the producer's name who was behind them. But Don Newkirk's album was, for me, like, I still listen to that album today. Like, it's in regular rotation. Now, I will say this. I mentioned 2 other people in the vein of Alexa de Paris. Of all those people that I mentioned, I have all 4 of Terrence Trent D'Arby's first 4 albums. I have and I still listen to all 4 of Terrence Trent D'Arby's. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, brother Staley. Terrence Trent D'Arby's first 4 albums is the closest to coming to going to where Alexa de Paris is. Like I think that of all those artists, Terrence Trent D'Arby was the one empirically that you look at the sounds that he crafted. He probably came as close to any of those artists of being as diverse as Prince, as giving you as much music as the Prince. That being said, so I listen to Terrence Trent D'Arby, but Don Newkirk, Terrence Trent D'Arby, everybody's gonna be surprised of the other artists that's in the most rotation for me. That I have 9 songs on my phone. I have 9 songs on this from his first 2 albums that I listen to regularly. Although I call him a Prince knockoff, would be Giorgio. Like I still listen to 9 Giorgio songs, and when I'm listening to him, I'm going Prince knockoff. So my point is that Alexa de Paris made it clear that there was nobody but Prince. And I think that a lot of people suffer from being put in the gonna be the next Prince. But luckily, most of those people, I don't count Giorgio because Giorgio didn't. Like I'm the only fool who got 9 Giorgio songs on his phone. But those other people that I mentioned, I just want to go the D'Angelos, the Miguels, the Maxwells, the Tony, the Ready for the World. People be surprised how many albums Ready for the World actually have. Right?
Giorgio, I know I was.
I know, right. And I will say this. I found it online. There's an actual live show of Ready for the World when they first came out. It's grainy, but they were actually a really good live group. And I'd forgotten, because I saw them live, I'd forgotten how good Ready for the World live was.
Yeah, my hate for them is baseless. It's just...
Right. Well, but I mean, but to be clear, Brother Turnbull, we all have acts that just didn't move us, or we just didn't feel them. For whatever reason or another. Again, like and I'll step out there because I'll be the one who's gonna get canceled more than anybody. Like I'm the fool that only got into D'Angelo's first album. And I got into like 1 or 2 songs of the other album, and I don't have any kind of like logical reasoning for it other than just I wanted Alexa de Paris from everybody, and I just didn't get that from D'Angelo from other things. But saying all that to say that Alexa de Paris and what he was doing was just opened up a world of music to me that I think a lot of these artists weren't able to do. So, all right, I'll shut up.
You know, Kim's just the last comment that was up about Prince making it possible. So I was going to say, I mean, Alexa de Paris, that's the unlock, right? That gave permission for not so much these other artists to play this music because they already were. Because like when you're showing up at the studio, you pretty much already are playing like that, right? That's the unlock, right? Alexa de Paris.
Right. Exactly. All right. I think we want to go to the next one. Who wants to read? Saturday, May 3rd, 1986.
I think I'm up.
Okay. All
right, I'm gonna do my very best here. Getting over a little bit of cold.
Let us know if you need us to tap in.
Oh, you'll hear it. All right. Saturday, May 3rd, 1986. Various Jams, Tracking and a Mix. Get On Up, Tracking and a Mix. Thank you very much for correcting me on what the cover was. Not James Brown, the Esquires. Sunset Sound Studio 3. Sunset Sound Studio 3 from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. Booked noon through open. Prince, the producer, artist, Prince, recording as The Flesh. Engineer, Coke Johnson. Prince was doing a lot at that time, and he had a couple of studios running at the same time. He'd ask if anyone had a song or if they wanted to collaborate on an idea, and we were all going back and forth. Attributed to Sheila E. Coke Johnson arrived at the studio at 11:30 in the morning and began setting up for a band recording, but it wasn't until 4 that people started showing up. Johnson recalls, he'd come in nice and fresh, and I'd be sitting there waiting. We had all his gear ready, so the drums were set up in our big room on a riser. He had different stations, so there were guitar stations, the bass, the keyboards, all that stuff. So no matter where he went in the recording space, it was already set up, routed through the mixer, assigned to tracks. So if you went to the Lindrum and played, it would go through to track 1 through 8 on the multitrack. I just mute the drums, but if you play the real drums, those will record on these tracks too. Sheila and Levi Caesar Jr. had been at Capitol working on a track called Split Personality, and now they had to split their time between two studios. When they arrived, Prince, Wendy, Lisa, Atlanta Bliss, and Eric Leeds were working on a jam. During these group sessions, Prince would often be inspired. Sometimes he would hear something amazing and he would dictate the entire direction of the session. Over the course of the 8-hour funk workout, Prince decided to leave the jam and record the classic Get On Up by the Esquires from their 1967 release on Bunky Records. That was an anomaly because that was a cover song, recognizes Leeds. I used to like that song when it was new in 1967. I was like, where did you pull this one out of? Prince wished he would have written it, explained Susanna. I think on some level he was just like, I want to experience what it's like to play this song that I've loved so much. He was happy. He could access those feelings. Like if he wasn't in a happy place, he wasn't going to do those songs. Those are songs during a time when he was happy. He was connected to that. It would be always connected to an inner experience. Prince had everyone contributing to the song using guitars, bass, live drums, cowbell, trumpet, and sax. I don't know who came up with the horn parts, reflect Eric. Probably him on that one. And then a couple of days later, we came back and did some more stuff on it. Prince had them record the Hammond B keyboard through a Leslie speaker, in which a rotating drum adjusts the sound as an instrument is played. Susan Rogers explains, what's cool about it is that the high frequencies at the top of the cabinet can get this really cool effect because it is on a motor and it spins. It's a sound that was kind of popular in the psychedelic era in the 60s. It can be found on tracks by the Beatles, the guitar part on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, You Never Give Me Your Money, Pink Floyd, the Echo song by Pink Floyd, Cream, the song called Badge, and the Beach Boys in their Pet Sounds album. It's somewhat similar to flanging, not sure how that's pronounced, although technically it's different, continues Rogers. But it's similar in the sense that it's a kind of psychedelic effect, a little bit from the 60s. It was always fun to do. He had his complement of stuff that he liked. Status, Get On Up, 4 minutes 30 seconds, would not be released during Prince's lifetime. The track was recorded as Everybody Get On Up, 4 minutes and 2 seconds for Carmen Electra's self-titled 1993 album.
Feel the track when they move, they get on now get on up.
Yeah.
Damn.
Anybody heard the original? Because I've like totally exposed myself that I didn't read ahead for this.
Yeah,
for this week.
and here's my problem: knowing the original and getting the Carmen remake, and going back to, if you guys remember the Sexy MF video VHS, not the Maxi, was it the Maxi? And it had the promo for Carmen Electra calling her the scariest woman in the universe. And I was just like, that was the moment when I realized, like, okay, so every so often we just gonna have to indulge a girlfriend out. Like I was like, that was just for me like the moment. And that's not, and I hate to do that because like Vanity 6 album is great. Like the Apollonia album, right? Of course, she was a talent before she got with Prince. So it's we always have to be kind of clear. So yeah, so hearing about how early he was doing this Esquire song, right? And how early he was on this jam, and that what it became was this venue for Carmen Electra is, I mean, I'm not gonna say disappointing because he's giving us so much great work, but to your point, I couldn't hear the Carmen Electra song. One, I'm not a big covers person, but also two, it was just so not what I expected and loved. And then also I just didn't think her rapping on it was because I should never be judging anybody's rapping skills since I listen to so little hip hop. But
no, you don't need to say that. No. That's a good thing about rap. You don't need that. You know, if it hits you, it hits you. If it don't, get it out.
It was just so yeah. So it's just cool. I didn't know this part. I didn't know that he had been working with this song this long. Yet the disappointing part of it is the fruition of it was what we got with Common Electric. I'll shut up. That's it.
I just only remember hearing this song, in the bootleg, back in the day, and I had no idea it dated back that far back. Just the way it sounded, it wouldn't make me think of parade times or things of that nature. But I've always like, get on up. I mean, I loved it, and I think I heard Prince's version before I heard the original.
Right.
But I thought I had no idea it was a cover when I first heard it. I was just like, yo, this is some fun. It's just jamming right off the gate. And, it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I love now that I know that he's doing covers back then. I love that was really him. Like he would play the shit he liked. You know what I'm saying? I like
it. And it really does, right, to the point both of you guys were making earlier, how Prince became a window or kaleidoscope for other music. And it's just not the same. But I also knew this was a cover. But I'll tell you a cover later on that I was so happy when he did the Stevie Wonder's "Maybe My Baby," only because knowing the original, like that was one of those moments for me that I knew Prince liked the blues, like that, and then having that bootleg of him doing the BB King song. But maybe my baby. And now we getting this Esquire thing. So again, it's like Prince was like school was in session long before Prince started saying school was in session, if that makes sense. I'll shut up.
Yeah. Hearing him do covers and things like this, and as much as I've listened to his music now and all the years and everything, I'm kind of getting to the point, the same way, Celia, you were talking about the people that are considered sort of like the disciples of Prince or whatever. I actually think of Prince that way.
Yeah.
Himself. And, as much as I love me Prince and I came up in that, to me, he's just trying I'm not saying this in a bad way, but he's just giving his interpretation to Stevie and Sly and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes most of the times it's great, but then I can go play, if I put on some Sly Stone or I'm like, yo, there's no question what I'm listening to. And this shit, they ain't trying to sound like this is the essence of the real stuff, you know what I'm saying? Or when I listen to like a Shuggy Otis, and I wish this is one of the biggest questions I wish I could have asked, or somebody, was Prince on Shuggy, or did he know about it? Because it's just like when I listen to the similarities, so uncanny in certain things, I'm like, God damn, would he have that in his back pocket and just try to act like he didn't know? He wouldn't listen to that. Because when I hear Prince now, I'm hearing just everything that came before him, but he just does it in a very cool way. And, he's the young kid reinterpreting all of this stuff. The same way, some with Michael and some of these other artists, the same way I love D'Angelo's, because he is just everything that came before him, but he puts his spin on it.
Right.
Where it becomes its own thing, and Prince just did the same thing, but he just, that's all he did was record. So you just have so much material more than anybody else. And he was attached to a big record company that bankrolled everything. When most cats just they didn't get the opportunity to record as much as Prince did, but I don't think they're not necessarily any less as talented than him. To use Ready for the World as an example.
Right.
As much as I can, sometimes I'm hating, let me just say that, as much as I was kind of hating when they came out, them songs was the jam. Like, in my neighborhood, that first album, you could not escape that. Everyone was blasting that. Everyone was playing it. And I think it says a lot that there's the slow song that he has still is an iconic song in Black community today.
WDM?
That's still, and to me, that's just drawing from Michael Jackson. They don't, Ready for the World, as much as we think them as a Prince thing, they are just as much a Michael Jackson influence. The way he sings his songs as well. To me, he is like, he's showing you how powerful those two brothers really were, because here's an artist that is pulling from both of them and wrote songs that are still talked about today, are still sampled today. There's so many remakes of that song. So they're bigger than we give them credit for. Just because they were influenced by something that was hitting at that time doesn't necessarily mean what they're doing isn't just as great as what Prince is doing, in my opinion. They just didn't have Warner Brothers and you know, they're not on MTV all day, so we kind of look at it sort of different. Same with Jesse Johnson to me, like fantastic, but you know, I understand why he's sort of put in this box. But yeah, that dude is fantastic. You know, a lot of these guys that we talked about, 2020, you mentioned as well. I mean, obviously they're pulling from Earth, Wind, and Fire and
Right.
all of black music,
Yeah.
soul, blues,
And that
and
heavy
everything. You
Oakland
know?
sound.
Right, and they're
Yeah.
pulling from that. So yeah, I mean, they're all doing that type of stuff.
I'll give you, man. I want to give you the perfect example. I hope this doesn't turn into flame in this dude, because I'm going to give you a perfect example of somebody I really like, and I'm hoping Arthur knows of this person, because I mentioned this person to somebody else and they didn't know who this guy was. So I'm going to mention somebody who's a little bit the opposite of what Brother Dean was saying, but who's trying to grow. So I'm going to mention somebody who, when you listen to this person, you know exactly who his favorite artist is. You know exact. So it's the difference of where Prince is amalgamating things into his own style. This artist I'm going to mention, I know I'm building it up, but this artist I'm going to mention, if you haven't heard this person before, and also it's because, and I'm not on social media, so people send me things. A lot of the criticism is, oh, he's just doing it's like it almost comes off as he's doing an impersonation of somebody. But then what happened after about a couple of years, he posted something else. So are you familiar, Arthur, with an artist named Buddy Red?
I am not.
Okay, so I'm gonna, because you do know Buddy Red, but I'm gonna hold that back for a moment.
Yeah, okay.
So Buddy Red, and nobody in the chat, if you know who this is, don't put Buddy Red in the chat his name yet, because I want to get through it so I can kind of tell Arthur who this person is. So Buddy Red is a guitar. Dang it!
Okay, that's why I said that's why I knew the name from. But yeah.
I'm playing Boombox Guru. So Arthur, yeah. So Buddy Red is a guitar player that if you go on any of his socials, Arthur, it almost comes off as a Jimi Hendrix karaoke.
Okay.
When I say Jimi Hendrix karaoke, not necessarily in a bad way. It's just that, like when you see guys who have those little Prince movements, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's a Prince move." You know how Jimi Hendrix plays the guitar, and then he'll scrub the neck with his hand, like this. Does that little?
Yeah.
Buddy Red does that on every song he plays. Like there's not.
To me, he's like what Lenny Kravitz would be. They would compare Lenny to so many other things, but Lenny, that's how I see Buddy Red the same.
Yeah, so Buddy Red is kind of like that. However, about a year or so ago, Buddy Red, because he acknowledged that he was reading the comments, he started playing a cover of Bambi.
Okay.
Now, I am hesitant because I know how people feel about covers and not. I will say this. He's done a live cover and he's done a cover where he's just in his room. Not that bad. Like, not necessarily blowing you away. Here's the other thing about Buddy Red. You can already tell he could make a living as a studio session guitarist. He's just that proficient with his instrument. So my point is, coming back to Brother Dean's point, is that at some point, Buddy Red is going to harness all of his influences and stop sounding like a Jimi Hendrix review and sound like whoever Buddy Red is going to be. It's just that, unfortunately, the way things work today with social media, I don't think young people have as much time to grow and develop.
Right.
In the way that Prince them did back in the day. And so I'm hoping that all the things that Brother Dean said about those artists who take from the past and then become their own person.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that at some point Buddy Red is going to drop an album and I go kind of like when Richard Pryor killed the Bill Cosby that he was to become himself.
Sure.
I always that Richard knew he had to kill the Bill Cosby in him. At some point, Buddy Red is going to kill the Jimi Hendrix in him and become the artist. And I think that's the discussion that we're kind of having is how many of those artists who become the next somebody? Because we forget, for the most part, in the first two albums, Prince was sold as kind of like the next Stevie Wonder, like the next singer-songwriter, R&B cat. And then Prince shows up with Dirty Mind, and he's no longer the next Stevie Wonder. So those artists who are the next somebody, when will they have their album? Right? Tony eventually had their album where they became themselves, right? They were no longer connected to anybody else. So that's I would say hopefully Buddy Red becomes that person who at some point I stopped seeing a Jimi Hendrix karaoke. And I want to be clear, I like Buddy Red, so I'm not saying that as a negative. That he goes from being a Jimi Hendrix karaoke to an artist where you think of him and only him. All right, I'll shut up.
So really it just comes down
to
Buddy
Red back because he just looks so much like T.I. to me. Like I just like T.I. as a rock star.
and let me say this. This was the one time where me not being into hip hop helped me. Because I see that a lot when people say that he looked too much like his daddy to be playing that kind of music. Because the only T.I. song I actually know is Rubber Band Man. And the only reason I know that song is because the producers from Mississippi, David Banner.
Love David Banner.
And
that's the Porn Star is my favorite album.
And I gotta say this with a little bit of kind of thing, like David Banner's from Mississippi. I don't really know that much about David Banner other than I see him around town and we've been on some panels together. But I know he's a super producer. I know he's a super producer. He's dope. So yeah, so to my point with that, so because I didn't know who T.I. was, I could kind of enjoy Buddy Red, and I had to be told later, like, you know that's T.I. In fact, I saw T.I. tell a joke when T.I. got into his comedy routine, and the joke he said was, "I'm so glad to see my son growing into himself. Because y'all need to understand, my son would leave the house looking like a damn magician, and I ain't know what the hell he was going to do. But I thought it was kind of funny that T.I. started looking like a magician. So anyway, so me not knowing hip hop, I think allowed me to give Buddy Red some grace that I think a lot of people don't give Buddy Red. All right, I said, go ahead, brother Arthur. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's all right. So I mean, the trick is obviously that if who he really sounds like is gonna stick. Right,
exactly. And me giving that grace. Go ahead.
Well, no, I had I have not heard of Buddy Red, but I'm a big early Kravitz fan.
Okay, yeah.
And I dropped off after the 5 album.
Okay.
And I think that was around when he began to actually sound like who he was, and he stopped sounding like Kiss or Curtis Mayfield or David Bowie.
I belong to you.
Yeah.
You.
Was that around the same time the Greatest Hits album came out?
It was right after that, but yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of like you.
Yeah.
I was up to the Greatest Hits. I was like you. I was early Kravitz. You know, one of my favorite Lenny Kravitz songs since we on it, Mr. Cab Driver.
Mr. Cab.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like
his first single, I think.
Yeah. So
you might like the well, you like Mama Said, but you might like the Circus album.
Yeah.
That he did in 1994.
Okay.
And that was during a period where his mother was suffering from cancer.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And he got cuts. He got some cut, man.
Lenny ain't no joke.
No, yeah, but kind of in that vein of you sound like somebody we're familiar with, and then you kind of grow into yourself, and then do people enjoy? And I would say that I would only argue that what separated Prince was that he kind of always sounded like himself, even though we could hear like the influences. And I think that was the thing that what kind of sets Prince apart, is that even on those first 2 albums, I remember my uncle, my E&J uncle, I always have to specify my E&J uncle, who showed up at Prince late, but I remember I was listening to For You. And my uncle was shaving. He like came out of the bathroom, and when he was like, yeah, that sounded like that good shit that was on the radio in 78. Appreciate you playing that. So, it was, I'm going to say both of them, Sneak. Like, I take that lie back. I probably would lean more toward TDD because I have it's TDD's first 4 albums. All of the songs on TDD's first 4 albums are bangers to me. I didn't fall off with Fisher Flesh.
The Fisher Flesh boy.
Yeah, Fisher Flesh. I was one of those people that Fisher Flesh didn't cause me to go running away. So TDD's first 4 albums every song on that bangers for me. What say y'all to?
Well, I'm gonna say this about Terrence Trenton D. Darby. That's how that first album, Heat. And I was really a fan. I remember it was MTV and they played his concert special or something.
Yes.
I recorded it off of TV and I would run that back all the time. That's the Terrence Trenton Darby that I love because I was just watching his performance. I mean, he was killing the game. Like I was all into it. Those songs, Wishing Well, to me, they're just so infectious. It was pop masterpieces and they were soulful in his voice. Now, I'm gonna be honest. After the first album, I ain't fuck with
it. so that feature flex man, you all
let me be clear. Here's the thing, though. But I give him so much props and respect because it's not that I don't respect his artistry. I do. Like I salute taking a big swing like that. It's just that for me, I just didn't feel the music. And I just didn't give it enough of a chance. The same way, it was the exact same thing many years later that I did with Maxwell. First album,
right?
That's a classic to me. Like that's man, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the banger. The second one, I was so disappointed when I initially heard it because it just wasn't. He pulled a Prince to me on his first album. He went from Purple Rain. And then his second album was Round the World in a Day. And I respect it, but I wasn't trying to hear that. It just wasn't, so I just left it alone. I think it was the third album.
That's the one with the brown cover, right? What's the Maxwell one? Yeah, that's the one I like.
The third album, I was right back on. I was like, oh, he's back on his shit. I'm all into it. And I was all into it for the most part after that. So when you say, going back to the question, Lenny or Terrence, I think Terrence is a better performer, and I prefer Terrence's voice and stuff, but I'm gonna go with Lenny because I listened more to Lenny, but I wasn't a Lenny album dude. I didn't buy the first album. I like Lady Cab Driver. I jammed that.
Right.
I heard of some of the other songs, but I would only listen to the soulful stuff that it ain't over till it's all. I was like, whoa.
Right.
I was heavy on that. Heaven Help, I think it was another song he did, was masterful to me. And it wasn't until the fifth album that I actually bought his first. That's the first time I bought it. Because it was like, I was like, oh, he got some bangers on here. I was like, okay, this is what I knew he could do. So but I think he's super fantastically talented. Just wasn't making the kind of music that I wanted to listen to. And I can be like that from people. I'd be like, yo, man, you talented as hell.
Yeah,
you're dope, but I ain't listening to that shit. You know what I'm saying? When you get back around to listen to the kind of make the music that I fall in love with for you, then I'll be right there. But until then, all I can do is salute them and give them props, but I ain't playing it. It doesn't mean I don't like it.
I'll give you one example and I'll let Brother Turnbull go. I have seen Buddy Guy over 20 times in my lifetime. Like starting out, like my first concert was B.B. King at the age of 6. I probably saw Buddy Guy around 10 or 11. So from 10 to 11 until my mid 30s, I've run out of times how many times I've seen Buddy Guy live. I tell people, if you want to know who Jimi Hendrix wanted to sound like B.B. King and wanted to perform like Buddy Guy. Like if you really want to know what and I'm narrowing that but if you really want to know what the Jimi Hendrix formula is, play like BB, particularly with the vibrato, because BB King introduced bravado to the blues. Nobody was doing, like when singers had that bravado with their voice, BB King was the one who kind of introduced that to playing. But if you watch Buddy Guy perform live, the whole point to the finger to the sky, all of the tricks, all of that, that's all where Jimi Hendrix got that from. Buddy Guy is probably one of the greatest live performers I've ever seen. I don't like one of his albums.
Okay.
I've never, I don't know if it's the producer, I don't know if it's the song, I don't know. Like I've never understood why what I love about this man live, they've never captured on the studio. So I get your point about
a lot of people say that about Prince.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of people say
The
so.
people that are not fans like us,
Right,
that's
right.
how they see Prince.
Yeah, they'll say Prince is great. So I just wanted to that point you were making about it is cool, it is normal and cool and okay to say I like this about this person, even though if you never bought any of their records. I go ahead, brother Turnbull. I ain't mean to cut you.
Yeah, I think of the two, I'd stay in the Kravitz lane. I went album for album to 5 and fell off after that. And not for a specific reason, I have to admit. I think the greatest hits break and then coming back, and I think after greatest hits was when he did the Lenny album. Began to feel more again, terrible word, but mainstream. Like I'm a successful artist. Let me stick to what's working for these sales. But I find parallels, particularly with each artist's first album, because I took them both as revivals.
Right.
That
yeah, definitely.
Terrence, the Darby album was a revival of Otis Redding, let's say.
Yes.
The Stax.
Yes. Thank
reviews.
You. Yes.
And Kravitz was bubblegum pop, with the funk bass to it. But then when you get Mama Said,
right,
there's starting to be something else. But and then Neither Fish Nor Flesh is just an over here kind of album. But I think, and I saw Lenny too. I saw Kravitz. I think he was supporting the 5 album because he was doing auditoriums, not amphitheaters. So it was before he got the much bigger crowd. And he was just a phenomenal performer. He had Sidney Blackman playing drums for him. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think of the two, I'd have to stick with Kravitz because it fits a lot with my aesthetic and what I was listening to.
Right.
Growing up. And the examples too that you fit in with Prince was perfect because at some point in your career, if you're going to try to sound like yourself, you have to take a risk. And I've always believed the whole explain bubblegum, I'll explain bubblegum. I always felt that the thing that everything about Prince's career has always been risk based. To go from I Want to Be Your Lover to Dirty Mind, to go from Dirty Mind to Controversy,
right?
Go from The Biggest Purple Rain sound to Parade, to go from to go from all that build up through Love Sexy, Apex at Batman, and then Diamonds Are Pearls, and now you're a whole nother thing, and you've generated a whole nother new artist. Oh, risk.
Right.
But yeah, so Bubblegum.
And then after Bubblegum, I just want to say, Ken, we got you. We're going to go back and do the final. I think we got one last reading left, right? Is it Sunday? We got the Sunday. Or
I thought that was it.
Yeah.
I wish we got one more day. We got one more day.
Okay.
I was going to say, the thing about Lenny, I love Lenny, but the thing about Lenny, the swag is different.
Very.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Prince was a pimp masquerading as a rock star.
Right.
Prince would slap the shit out of you. You could tell like Prince was from the gutter. Lenny, he just has a different swag about it.
Right.
And it's hard to explain. Prince would be like, yes, baby. Oh shit.
Right.
Lenny's not on that. You know what I'm saying? And he's from a different world or whatever. It's a different vibe and nothing bad. It's just a different sort of, Prince to me was, as much as even on his more eccentric type of stuff, he was still a pimp.
Okay.
Like he still had that swag. Just how Prince was walking, that, when he just.
Right.
That was the devil, huh?
Right.
That was the difference. He carried that swag in everything he did, even when he was on his artistic. Comes out in the wash and other.
Right.
He was still the next record to be on some. Girl, I'll lick the in between the creases of that one and swoop and whoop 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 and whoop whoop. So it was a different type of thing. But that's what made him great. That's why Prince is just so different, because Prince would have still been Prince whether or not he played that kind of music, or if it was on some, he was still from the streets. As much as they tried to water down, he still had a lot of issues, and that's what made it great. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just want to be clear, make sure because we're not gonna finish now. We're not gonna read Sunday, May 4th. That's for next week, right?
I see what you said.
Yeah, because that's Sunday.
Okay, so cool. All right, so we good. All right, so do we go to? I want you.
Oh, actually, I guess that is it, isn't it?
Yeah. So I know you're gonna do the find bubblegum somebody. Then we get into, I guess, the purple word and everything else. Want to make sure we staying on task.
Yeah. Bubblegum for me is something is songs that will get you a lot of attention, but you may not be able to sustain that attention with your art thereafter. Kind of like, I think what the differentiation between the Let Love Rule album and the Mama Said album was, for me, I'll give a broad example and I'll give a personal answer for that, because I had heard that a follow-up Lenny Kravitz album was coming out, but on the face of it, I was not that interested, because Let Love Rule felt like a bubblegum album. He had different songs. A lot of them sounded really good, but they were all of aesthetics that came before him that were appealing to a mass audience.
Right.
But I read an article. It's so weird. I'll never forget where I was. I was in and out of all places reading this article in Pulse magazine, which was an in-house Tower Records publication. And Pulse was, I don't even know if Kravitz was on the cover, but his name, maybe he's one of the names that are on the cover to get you to be interested in the issue.
Pulse or Pulse?
Pulse,
Pulse.
heartbeat,
Okay.
the pulse, check the pulse. Anyway, he was talking in the interview. Kravitz was talking about how he wanted to record this album on vintage equipment because he wanted a certain sound for the album. And he talked about his songwriting process, and he talked about all these different things, and it gave me an insight that, okay, he's really trying to do this. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give him a chance. Then I heard Always on the Run.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, he's actually trying to do this. Right. And he's got Slash with him, and then I learned that he and Slash came up together. So it kind of explained some things to me about, why things went the way that they went. And then I heard about the Romeo Blue years, and I was trying to get with Prince, and I was like, oh, started making every sense. But that's what I mean about bubblegum. I don't mean to say he's a bubblegum artist, but that is what I mean about that bubblegum sound, that it's got mass appeal, it sounds great, but what happens after that? I don't know.
Right.
Was that it? Was that all I was supposed to say? Or did I mess myself up? I'm sorry, I'm under the weather. I'm trying to get it back together.
No, you're good. You're good.
So we got we go to, go ahead, brother. I was
just say another, just we on Lenny for a second, and I like Lenny. I'm gonna take what I'm saying. Great. Another thing I think about Lenny, and I think about I put Macy Gray in the same category. And even and I'm gonna say her name, she's mad talented. Michelle
Dion Ferris. Oh, Michelle! Oh my God! Yeah, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah. But the thing that I think sometimes with these artists, they come in the game being put on by the machine.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come from, at least I don't, and maybe they do. I'm not aware of it, but it didn't feel. It felt like they came out the gate already established. They were pushed to MTV from day one. They was pushed into the game from day one. It didn't feel like it came like it was some shit that we was already up on and then they blew up. It was like they blew up from the beginning. What do I mean by that? Like with Prince, for instance, or some of the other people, They was hits. They was hitting before they got to the pop chart. We was listening to that.
Mm-hmm.
They was the shit that we loved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it was like, oh wow, they did something that blew them up. Now, you know, the mainstream is pushing it, but we already love that. They already goaded to us. So we'll celebrate it more. I sometimes feel like Lenny, and I always felt like, and I think there was a conversation about this a couple of years ago in social media, how soon we forget, but it was people was questioning his blackness and why he's not speaking to this type of media versus that type of media. And I think it just sort of stemmed from it didn't feel like it came from us. It didn't feel like it came from us organically. It was like it was Terrence Trent D'Arby is the same type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Though he was overseas, it just came out. Boom! Here it is. It wasn't the build up, like with hip hop was the build up. The streets, the people made them stars. Once it hit the mainstream, yeah, the rest of y'all, we're sharing this with y'all, and it becomes something bigger. But we already know that, and I don't think we had a relationship with the Lennys, the Macy's, organically. So when they're doing all these albums that are big sellers, but they're more rock pop based, it was almost like they had to do the project. And I think that's what 5 was to me. It was like, I gotta let y'all know, no, I can do some R&B, you know, I can do a black record, you know what I'm saying? But he had to do that 5 albums in. He didn't start out that way. To me, like a Maxwell, that was our shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so anything he can do the second album, and we're gonna come right back to him. When you're ready to come on back home, brother, we're gonna be on we're gonna support you heavy. And I just feel like Lenny he didn't get to have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't come, it felt like it came from somewhere else. So we don't almost identify with it that much. You know, we're not the ones out the concerts heavy, like we are with the other ones. Now they can still, Lenny's an international superstar. So
right.
But again, when you ask a lot of cats, what's the album you was playing? They'd be like, I know
right. They mess with it ain't over till it's over.
We're not playing that at the picnic. Yeah. We're not playing it at our shit or at the club. There really isn't no bangers. You know what I'm saying? Or we didn't play. It wasn't our car music. It's just a different type of culture. And I think sometimes when the artist doesn't come from us, once that audience they get tired of it, they're gonna have to come back. Oh, let me come back and do my such and such thing. You know, to get back into the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, to me, that's why I always felt like it was a sort of a separation with Lenny. I think he's dope, but it's just like I didn't really have that. Yo, that was the joint we played heavy.
I think I know what you mean. I mean, if I'm understanding you right, yeah, I don't think, I agree. I don't think that Lenny Kravitz in the beginning had this sort of straight trajectory. This is the market, this is the kind of audience, this is the kind of music, and have all those 3 things like line up, you know.
Right.
Again, I think he was pushed, or it was a pop rock type.
Well, he was definitely pushed that way, and I think it was because that's kind of like what the album sounded like, you know, it maybe. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying in terms of black artists, they have to deal with. I don't know if it is now, but back then in the '80s, you would have had to deal with that. You were going to be considered a black artist traditionally, or you was going to.
But I think there was enough blackness sprinkled onto Lenny. And let me be clear.
No doubt.
I first heard about Lenny Kravitz because he was Lisa Bonet's husband. Right. So I had a personal issue already with him. Right. You see what I'm saying? But
to be clear, that's our only real connection we have because of the connection to Bill Cosby.
But because I'm a Prince fan, I found out about Romeo Blue, and he was trying to get signed to Paisley, or he was trying to get with Prince. So okay, there's that. And then you see the Let Love Rule video, and Zorro is playing the drums in the video. And if you know anything, you know what I'm saying? So now we got a new addition and a Bobby Brown connection. So it's like, okay, well, something's going on here. You know? So I just think, I
would say put the Rockabosh, if we can, the Rockabosh quote back up, because I want to kind of circle back to kind of, if I say, explain what Brother Dean was saying. So I kind of get what Rockabosh is saying, but let me, and I don't want to comment start speaking for Brother Dean. So I think what Brother Dean was saying, Rockabosh, and then to make it connected to your point is that, but then Brother Turnbull said something. So I would say that both Lenny Kravitz and Terrence Trent D'Arby benefited from Prince working the Chitlin circuit and knocking those doors down. So that Prince comes out, don't make me black artist this and that. Prince comes out working the Chitlin circuit. So because Prince is working the Chitlin circuit, there's an investment in Black community, right? As someone who was at 3 of those concerts before Purple Rain, who could tell you that prior to Little Red Corvette being put in heavy rotation on MTV, 60 to 70% of Prince's concert audience was Black. So by the time we get to Lenny Kravitz and Terrence Trent D'Arby, the pro or the con, the good or the bad, however you want to see this, is that now they have, when I say they, the industry, the record company, now they have Black artists that they don't have to break on the Chitlin circuit because Prince has become such a major force that they feel like they can break TDD and Lenny Kravitz on the pop rock stage without having to go through the Chitlin circuit. And so, to Brother Dean's point, because neither one of them came up on the Chitlin circuit, it felt like to a lot of Black listeners, they just kind of showed up out of nowhere, as opposed to being the dude that we knew who was in Charlotte and in Memphis and in Jackson and in Chicago. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad or a good thing. Right, Lenny was played on alt rock radio as opposed to playing in the Chitlin circuit. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that he should have been Chitlin circuit. I'm saying, to Brother Dean's point, to what happened is that when you start on alt rock radio or you start on pop rock radio, then you don't have a grassroots base that's going to rise for you in the way Prince had cultivated a grassroots base. That's not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I just want to kind of put in historical and social context what Brother Dean was saying, that Prince felt like somebody that was organically grown to a lot of Black people. So if you were a Black person that wasn't listening to alt rock radio, or you weren't listening to those things, it kind of seemed like they showed up out of nowhere being pushed. That's not a statement on their music, but I just want to make sure, to Rockaback's point, that Black radio was as much about you playing the Chitlin circuit and not just about the limiting corporate programming. That you were on Black radio by the combination. You were playing Charlotte, you were playing Memphis, you were playing Jackson, you were playing New Orleans, you were playing Detroit, you were playing like that were like Black hubs. If you go look at Prince's early concert tours, look at Prince on tour with James, and then look at the Dirty Minds tour and look at the Controversy tour. Those are mostly Black cities. Prince is playing Black cities, building that Black base, so that when he blows up with Purple Rain, then the Black community has an investment in that, to where I don't know we can say that TDD and Lenny, although I will say this, and I'll close on this. One of my favorite quotes about being entertainment is from Terrence Trent D'Arby, and I apologize for not saying the name he is now. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Right.
That a lot of people don't know that before he was in Europe, TDD cut his teeth playing at Bethune-Cookman University, which was an HBCU. And one of my favorite, he said, they asked him, how did you become such a great entertainer? This is one of my favorite quotes about entertainment. Lenny Kravitz said, not Lenny Kravitz, Terrence D'Arby said, he said, look, folks, when you're playing in front of Black people, you need to be ready to entertain those people, because they will be entertained, even if that means you have to become the entertainment. That's a man who cut his teeth on playing in front of the Black audience. Unfortunately, right after his Bethune-Cookman University foundations, he's over in Europe and he becomes a different kind of thing. I'll shut up. I just wanted to give some context to all of that.
All right, we're getting close to the hour here.
So we go into the purple world and all the other slides that Prof does got.
Yep. So let's see. Sorry about that. Get my thing together here.
I love it.
All right, so far my man has done 54 studio sessions and he's done 22 new songs. That's just a lot of damn music. All right.
Right.
That's a career. That's a career for most people.
That really is, man. That's a career for most people. All right. Moving into the final segment of the show at Purple Road. Steve Park in conversation with Maite Garcia at an event to promote his new book, Prince, Black, White, Color. Park takes some nice shots. I actually like his photography. This is happening on May 5th in Baltimore, Maryland, at the Central Library, Tuesday, May the 5th. An event called Dance On, a Prince Conference, June 1st and 2nd in 2026 in Minneapolis. That's hosted by the International Center for Prince Studies. Don't have admission on the flyer here, but that's okay.
I just want to say those folks have been around since at least 2017. So if you can check them out, I don't know if they still have open for papers, but that group of people, they've been doing really good Prince scholarships since around 2017. All right, you go to next.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, the estate's announcing the Prince celebration for 2026, June 3rd through 7th at Paisley Park in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Members of the MPG and the Revolutions are going to unite for the first time. That should be worth the price of admission. Shaka's going to be there. Morris Day, Miguel, Tevin, Bilal, Kat Graham, Sounds of Blackness, Bootsy, Jimmy Jam. Okay, all right. So we got tickets are on sale. Usually the VIPs sell out early. Anybody know if the VIPs are still available?
Don't know. People in the chat, let us know. All right. You can go ahead.
Okay, let's save the date for the 9th annual Purple Takeover in New Orleans. It's a birthday celebration for Prince happening June 4th through the 7th.
I've gone there a couple of times. If you're in the South and you can't make it to celebration, DJ Soul Sister, she's also an archivist. This is a real heady sister. She's an archivist at Tulane University. She's also a great DJ. It is a great 3 or 4 days. So if you're in the South, you can't make it up to celebration, go down to New Orleans and hang out with DJ Soul Sister at the Purple Takeover. That's it.
Okay. The 11th annual Paisley Midwest Party honoring the legacy of Prince, August 21st through the 23rd is going to feature Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss together. I haven't seen them together since the virtual symposium, that was really fun. Mike, you were on that call, weren't you? Were you on that meeting when Atlanta and Eric were on the panel? I know Ricky was. All right, that was great. Anyway, that's happening next. Oh yes, okay. So we want to help Jackie move forward after lung cancer. I know that we've got maybe 4 family members that are suffering through some things here. Also, supporting Dee Marie Benson's family. She had passed away recently. Our sister, Adie Durant, she was instrumental in she organized, what was it? It was a Purple Rain
Clubhouse.
Yeah. And forgive me, for not remembering that in full. Also, our brother Troy Gua, he is still fighting his battle with cancer, and Dr. Funkelberry, who's also fighting the good fight. And I don't mean be flippant about that. I am a cancer survivor, so these battles are not light at any stage. Dennis Dickerson is going through a difficult time as well. He has a GoFundMe page. And as always, this week's show, D'Angelo Duff has compiled some music to go along as an accompaniment for what we've talked about on her YouTube channel, Polished Salad. And she also has a special playlist for our brother Ricky Wyatt, who we miss dearly. We ask that if you are able to donate to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation in memory of Ricky. And that's it. Hold on, let me get us back on here.
So before Brother Dean take us out, I just want to be clear to as Brother Turnbull says, the chat is where it's at. We love everybody in the chat. I just want to be clear. We weren't having these discussions to pit Terrence Darby against Lenny Kravitz we were talking more. Remember now, we just want to be clear. It started with our discussion about Alexa de Paris and about what Prince was able to give us with Alexa de Paris and what other artists in that mode kind of could or did or didn't. So I don't want anybody leaving with the notion that we don't love. I love Terrence Darby. Again, forgive me for not saying Senya's real name. That's me, and I hate that. But hey, Terrence Darby, Lenny Kravitz. Some of us got at least 3 or 4 songs. Some of us got more songs with them on our phone. We love all these people. At the end of the day, what Prince should teach us is that we should never try to put Black artists in a box. And I think that's the meaning of that conversation is through Prince, we're able to experience so many other artists, and that Prince gave Terrence Darby, and no, it was Lenny Kravitz who said when he saw Prince, he said, there it is. That's somebody who know how to do it. Right? To me, that is, if you want to look at what is the legacy of Prince. So I want everybody to leave here uplifting Terrence Darby, uplifting Lenny Kravitz, because this is the space that Prince has made it cool to uplift Black artists who have refused to knuckle down to what people say Black people should be. I just want to make sure that we leave with that. I'll shut up and let you guys take us out.
Well, I want to add to that. Too, I think going back to the Alexa de Paris, Prince is given opportunities that a lot of the artists that we mentioned didn't get.
Right.
Most of them didn't get to do B-sides.
Right.
Right. You have that one hit song, and that's what they're going to ride with. You might want to put out another one, and they'll be like, no. Why? This is a music business.
Right.
We're going to play it by the rules of the game. Prince was allowed to go ham, essentially. And he set up his situation where he could just do nothing but record. He had got successful enough where he didn't have to do what all these other artists did. And he got away. So he can do all that type of stuff and flesh it out, and for them to actually put it out. We don't know the abilities for a lot of these artists that we talk about. We are only judging them by the stuff that they were allowed to put out. But we don't know if they actually had songs that were even more amazing than Alexa de Paris. But, common sense in that business dictate that you do not put out some ballet music if you're a funk artist. Even though you may be actually one of the coldest orchestra type of, there's no way in hell that you would want to do that, put it out, because it might confuse people. And the record company more than likely is not going to allow you to get away with that. But I think Prince was in a very unique position because he was so talented and because he had proved himself and because he was at Warner Brothers, who championed that type of stuff to let you sort of flex a little bit. He was allowed to show you other things, and he had to fight to do that. Like, he had to be very creative to put that song with these guys over there and put that over there. And, I can put a B-side here, because most artists were not given that opportunity to do anything like that. So it wasn't as if they're trying to lock themselves in a box, but maybe their situation dictated that there's no way in hell we're going to let you put out a rap song, Lenny, or Terrence. No, you're not going to put out a funk. No, that would mess up everything. We have you marketed as this. So I think that's a lot of it too. And it's easy for us as Prince fans to listen. I do this all the time. There's no one greater than Prince. But listen, as a music fan, I'm not going to fool myself to think that Stevie, some of these other people are standing right there that opened the door for Prince in the same way. But Prince was able to do a lot of things that those artists we mentioned before never gave him the opportunity to do. Just wasn't going to happen that way. It doesn't mean they wasn't as talented as him, but Prince is a unique artist, man. They allowed him to do his thing. And even with that, they still had a chain on him. Even he still felt there was a chain on him, even though for most artists, they wish they would have had the opportunities of Prince back.
Right.
So, I mean, we have to remember that too. You know,
Yeah.
it's not to say these other cats ain't talented, but there's an opportunity. There is a reason why he was allowed to flourish like that, and some people weren't. You know,
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you all for joining us for episode 170 for What Did Prince Do this week. I am Arthur Turnbull filling in for D'Angelo Duff.
and you did a great job, sir. Great
Hey,
job.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you all putting up with me through this time. Have a great weekend. Again, I'm Arthur Turnbull, and I will never forgive Justin Timberlake for what he did to Janet Jackson.
That's right.
Have a great week.
That's
Talk
right.
your talk.